What is up, guys? It is Dave and Duncan back from Metal Epidemic for another album review. And for this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the new album from German brutal death metal crew Stillbirth. The band's new album, Homo Deus, will be released on April 7th.
Are you sure that's how it's pronounced?
Homo Deus?
I thought it might be Deus, but...
Deus?
Yeah, Deus, like Amadeus.
Homo Deus?
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
Maybe Latin.
Sounds better than Homo Deus. It's out on April 7th.
Well, you're doing that. Let me do some research, which we clearly should have done before.
Great start. Album comes out on April 7th via Distortion Music Group. Album number 8 from Stillbirth. You alright?
It is Latin. It means God man or man God.
Oh.
And it is pronounced Homo Deus.
Deus, right, okay, good to know.
Yes.
Good to know.
This is like literally my favourite review we've ever done, because it once again proves that as old as I get, I'm still just completely immature.
So this is album number 8 from Stillbirth, which follows up the 2020 album Revive the Throne, which we reviewed back in the day on the YouTube. I think before we had our video on the
definitely before video. Yeah.
When was that? August 2020. Yeah, probably would be way back. So that came out in 2020. Then just before the release of the band's 2021 EP, Strain of the Gods. Unfortunately, the band's bassist and audio engineer Dominic Pompa Koning took his own life in October 2021. He had been in the band since about 2005 and a key member. So that's obviously quite a difficult time for the band to go through. They obviously had to kind of take a minute and just decide what was going to happen going forward. It looks like they have had some kind of lineup changes or additions over the last kind of year or so with 2 new guitarists and Lucas, who had played bass on the last album along with Dominic. He's now taken up full-time bass duties. So Homo Deus is a concept album, and the lyrical theme starts where our previous Unique Leader Records releases, Revive the Throne and Strain of the Gods EP, ended. Humanity is slowly recovering from being on the brink of extinction after the big fallout on annihilation of mankind. More and more people forget how hard the reconstruction was and how much suffering had to be endured. The greed for profit and the striving for power causes mankind to exploit the planet to the maximum. The garbage piles up to the sky. Tales of clean water can only be taken from the remaining books, but mankind strives for more and does not become saturated, although it lives in abundance. This behaviour is not tolerable, and the true creator shows his face to cancel the project Humanity. How will this battle be decided? Who will be the winner? Find out on Homo Deus. The album was recorded by the respective members, with Lucas taking on both guitars and vocals on the album, and then mixing and mastering done by Demigod Recordings. The album is about 11 tracks long, clocks in around about 43-ish minutes. So, Stillbirth, ladies and gents. If you saw or heard our last review on the Stillbirth album, no huge surprise, Big Dave loves him some Stillbirth. I really enjoyed the last album, Revive the Throne. So I was really keen to hear where they would go next on this one. Quelle surprise, Duncan! It is fucking ruthless.
French? Oh, it's ruthless. Sorry, I thought it was French.
Just throwing a little French in there since we're doing the Latin thing, may as well.
I mean, like that. Just throwing the French thing in there because we're doing the Latin thing. That famous French language, Latin.
Balancing it out, Duncan. This is multicultural. This review, Duncan. Edutainment, as we once said.
Oh, edutainment. There you are. You're the edutain.
So yeah, I think Stillbirth are Stillbirth are back with a boom, Duncan.
Oh, I see
what I did there.
Well, yeah, it'll only make sense when you describe why you said that.
Yeah, that'll make sense later. Just
Later
keep that in there.
Yep.
Later
Wait
on.
till Dave drops the boom later on.
The penny will drop later. Yes, this fucks. This absolutely fucks. This is everything I love about Stillbirth. Like this is tight as fuck. Like super tight. It is utterly relentless. And it has got, there's so many moments on this album that just give you that absolute stank face. Like, just,
it's a character album. It's bursting with character all the way through it. Like
100%.
every track has at least one or two moments where you're just like that. It just is so distinctive and really playful.
Absolutely, yeah. I actually think this album is probably slightly more clinical than Revive the Throne. The riffs feel a little bit more technical in places. I was getting some kind of heavy aborted vibes from time to time. Aborted Stillbirth. So I feel like don't know why I made that connection there.
Fucking red webbing it in the background. Goes to here and then this connects to here. It's all connected, man.
I feel like what I'm trying to say is I feel like technically the band feel like they have leveled up on this release. They're also there's less movie samples on this album than there was on Revive the Throne. You get one on the first track, The Hunt, and then near the end of the album on Tribunal of Penance and Get Out. But apart from that, they don't really do it.
Yeah, well, one of the samples, I think it's on Get Out, that's actually Ronald Reagan. So it's not even, it's Ronald Reagan when he announced Project Star Wars.
Right. Okay.
Like,
weird.
Yeah. Well, you say that, but that's still happening right now. Like,
Cheers,
the
Ronnie.
next war will be fought in space. That was the 80s, by the way. 40 years later, the next war will be fought in space. They just say it just rinse and repeat, Dave. Rinse and repeat. Unlike the riffs on Stillbirth.
Yes. But what I was going to say was that I didn't feel like the album was missing.
No,
the samples, like, they were really cool on the last album. They're quite playful, quite funny, but I didn't feel like I was really needing them on this one. And I think it kind of worked in giving the album a bit more of a kind of serious tone. And like if you've seen their social media, or if you even listened to their previous releases, they've always been a fun band. They've got that kind of playful side. But I feel like this album, they've dialed that back a little bit. And went a bit more kind of direct in the execution at times. This feels like kind of pure brutality just from start to finish. But it's, as you said, this is not a regurgitation of old material. You still got this, the Stillbirth levels of that brutal death metal ferocity, little elements of slam in there as well. But they've also got little sections of deathcore, little tinges of hardcore, grind in there, punk. And there's some nice blackened sections in here too. I noticed that the kind of blackened thing early on in the album, there's some lead work that comes in. I was like, oh, right, okay, that's, it's a little bit kind of more kind of blackened tinged. And then on track 6, Rising from the Ashes, they really lean into that. And you get this almost like cattle decap type blackened melody coming through in the guitar work and also in the vocals from Lucas. And I really liked that addition to the album. It sits nicely in the middle, and that kind of shift in tone, it gives you something different from the band that's quite refreshing, creates quite a clever movement into the second part of the album as well. There's also a bit more of a progressive streak on the album, and that really shone through on Descending, where they let the guitar and the bass get a little bit more proggy in the fretwork. It feels a little bit more sophisticated and quite flowing, which I really liked. I think the bass playing, like, on the whole album is fantastic. It is great. Loads of really nice little kind of bass licks, bits of slapping and popping here and there. But the end section on Descending is where it really gets to shine, where you get that kind of big, kind of proggy, kind of freestyle bass solo at the end, which is really cool. Then there's Tribunal of Penance, which for me was the moment where you kind of feel like they've kind of relaxed a little bit. They're showing much more of that playful side on that track. It's got this real kind of like bluesy kind of rock intro, big guitar solo, and then just one word to kick the track into gear, which is pussy. And then all bets are off as we go into this like almost kind of like southern tinge kind of death metal track, which is a lot slower and paced than a lot of the stuff on you've heard previously in the album, but it's got this real swagger to it, which is really cool. That only lasts for about 2 minutes though, and then it's injected with this right big kind of punch of speed in the middle, but then they cleverly bring it back down at the end of the track back into that kind of southern groove again, which was a really cool addition to the album. I also love the fact that they don't feel the need to let songs linger on. Like if it's done what it needs to do, you know, then it's kind of like in and out. The track Seeds of Judgment, great example of that. Like it's absolutely fucking punishing, like one of the heaviest tracks on the album, and it's only 2 minutes 39. Like, but it gives you everything you want in those 2 minutes 39. It's got enormous grooves, churning riffs, little bits of dissonant guitar work, a little bit of technical guitar work to break things up, shifts into blast sections, there's sweep picking, and then there's a monster end riff as well. So like, what more do you want? You know what I mean? It's got everything you need, and they pack it into that short runtime. The other two things that I love about this are, one, the booms.
Oh, bringing it back to the booms,
Penny drop here. Booms everywhere, Duncan. Booms everywhere. Yep. Going off like oral hand grenades throughout this album. Fucking love the booms. I love the booms. And like, just, you know, it's just anytime there's some kind of drop in the music, breakdowns, a bit of slowdown, boom, when it comes, and it's just like, fuck yes, bringing it back. Love the booms. Number two, the cowbell, Duncan.
Yes, cowbell. Well, I did wonder how long it would be before it appeared in the conversation. So
it's a fairly underutilized percussive instrument in the brutal death metal world. The brutal death metal, yes.
Oh, the brutal death metal world, yeah.
But Stillbirth, they use it brilliantly on this album, because they use it brilliantly because they only hit it once on certain tracks, just one hit. And I noticed that it appears on Proclaim the Anarchy, it appears on Rising from the Ashes and Autonomous Eradication as well. And they just hit it once before a huge groove or a breakdown, and I kind of love that. Like, they kind of used it in the same way that a single bell is used before like a breakdown, but they use the cowbell, which is just fucking awesome. Loved it. And then after I heard it like a couple of times, I was like constantly listening out for it, like, they're going to do it again. They're going to do it again. I know it's 3 of them. There's maybe more. I'll maybe go back and hear more of them in there. But I fucking love this. Like, I love Stillbirth as a band, but I feel this album is a definite step up. I've listened to this 5 times before the review, and each time I find something else to love about it. Like, I really enjoyed Revive the Throne, but I feel like this is definitely a superior album to that one, and it was really good. But this just feels so much better, and all the different facets of the band. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. What about yourself? What are you thinking of this new one from Stillbirth?
Yeah, this is great. Yeah. It's directing to the point, which I kind of love about it, but at the same time, it's so playful and full of character. It's difficult not to smile when listening to something so fucking heavy and abrasive. A lot of that is through, it's all the flurries, it's all the little accents that the guitars do, specifically what the drummer does. Drummer's a fucking beast, like rapidly fast but incredibly playful. Loads of sections of that, you know, like rolling on the bell at the top, and like mixing, like genuinely mixing things up. I did joke earlier on, I think it is on Proclaim the Anarchy, which is maybe just everything that this album has on one track, including a section where the vocals hit 3 different registers. And like, once again, that is not easy to do. I can't stress that enough. Like, to have a brutal kind of guttural death metal range, to then be able to do the high-pitched pig squeals, and for it to sound so well executed, plus have a middle range in between that, is mind-blowing. From a technique point of view, to be able to pull it off so flawlessly is incredible. So, but that one, like, I'm sure that's the track that has just a single 4-bar of disco. And I'm going to make a bold statement here. Between Stillbirth and Sanguisugabog, I think disco is making its way in through death metal. I'm just going to put it out there. I think we could see the disco revival not where you thought it was going to be, but actually more in death metal. So there you go. Just so you know. I mean, like this. There's not a lot I can fling on top of this. I genuinely think, like you said, the removal of samples, which I'll be honest, I'd kind of forgotten about until you mentioned it, and I was like, oh, that was them, because I remember we just kept talking about Bloodduster. They don't need it. Like the songs all kick off with a huge degree of energy and ferocity that I wasn't. I mean, the tracks that they do use them, they even use them in different ways. They don't necessarily use them as an opening bit and then the track kicks in. On Get Out, I think they use it actually while the song is playing, which is kind of cool. Tribunal of Penance, you've touched on that. That was the one that really kind of put me in the back foot because of the complete genre change. Yeah. But it works, and they revisit it later on. So once again, they're paying off the setup. It's not just a gimmick. Yeah. It's musically incredibly tight, like just generally great, and just so much energy. And none of the tracks, you like stole one of my big sales points for this, is none of the tracks overstay their welcome at all. Yeah. They kind of feel like they're the perfect length, and as such, I kind of love that. Like the last thing I need is another ding, 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 and then a fucking breakdown. Like they don't really fall into any of those trappings. Yeah, they mix it up enough, and none of the songs really have the same structure per se, but they do have a familiar feel. Yeah, which I really like as well. They have it's that character that Stillbirth bring out. Production is incredible. Incredible. It's super tight, super loud, super violent, everything that you want. And then on top of that, the booms are used at a higher register. It's kind of almost early 2000s booms, which were never like the deathcore booms we get now, which are so fucking low in the register. Yeah. They're lower than anything else. These ones kick in as almost like a sci-fi sound effect. Yeah. As opposed to a sound that Hans Zimmer would use in a Christopher Nolan movie. And they work. And like there's loads of them in here, and you should feel that they're overutilized, but they're actually cleverly placed. They're not always placed exactly where you think they're going to come in. The cowbell element that you talked about, once again, clever. It's subverting expectation, which I enjoy because the genre they're playing in has a degree of, I expect the music to do this. I expect the song to follow this format. Oh, here's the bit that we all know that's coming in. And they smartly avoid it without trying to be different. Yeah. It's just the way the songs are written. It flies in. This is like 40, 42, 43 minutes long. And it goes past really quick. And it is one of those ones where you're kind of just like, again. And yeah, once again, like, kind of solidifying my stance just now, the death metal's really super exciting. Like if you're a death metal fan, the variety of choice you have is great, but the caliber of songwriting and the bands out there is just fucking nuts. And Stillbirth are a prime example of that. So many albums in and so long into their career, and still doing stuff that feels relevant, fresh, and modern. I mean, what more could you ask for? Yeah, this is like for the death metal friend that you have, this is an easy recommend. And for the person that you're trying to get into death metal that just wants grooves and savagery and a lot of fun, once again, Stillbirth is an easy recommend. Yep, for sure. So ratings for this new one from Stillbirth. Just like so many moments that I look forward to hearing on the album every time I play it. I think the highlights for me were definitely Seeds of Judgment, Rising from the Ashes, and Tribunal of Penance. I thought those three tracks really stood out from the album. But to be honest, overall, this is just a tighter, more diverse, more direct album that with way more reward than before as well. I will play the shit out of this 100%. Rating for me, I'm going to go 4.5 out of 5 on this one. Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed this. And I'm looking forward to playing it again already. What about yourself? What are you thinking? Just a tiny ball here below you. I'm coming in at 4 on this one. Right. I think it's great. I genuinely, the problem is that my death metal listening has become more articulate this year. And I already have 2 death metal albums that I think are better than this, and it's not fair to compare because they're a different sort of death metal band. But I love this one. I could easily be at the end of the year going, that actually scored it lower than I should have. I should have been higher. I will continue to listen to this. It really is. There's something very infectious and Moorish about it. You just kind of want to spin it more and more. So yes, Homo Deus.
Or Homo Juice, if you want to.
Or Homo Juice. Gets a 4 from me.
Nice. The new album from Stillbirth drops on April 7th on Distortion Music Group. Links below to the band and to the pre-order. Check it out. Let us know what you think. Stick some comments in below. That is the review. Thank you for checking it out. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.